Inheritance, Book 1 of the Vaelwalker series, brought to you by StoryPulse Studios, where imagination comes to life.
Chapter 6. The shower water ran cold halfway through rinsing the shampoo from his hair. Perfect, Tyson muttered, teeth already chattering. Just perfect. He scrubbed at the suds while dancing an awkward two-step on the cracked porcelain. The motel's water heater had been temperamental from day one, but this wasn't a malfunction. It was eviction by hypothermia. 7 days in the same place was pushing his luck anyway. Outside, early morning Queens traffic grumbled past. Car horns punctuated a distant ambulance wail. The pipes groaned in protest as the last trickle of tepid water surrendered to complete frigidity. Tyson shut off the shower and grabbed a threadbare towel that felt like it had been sandblasted for texture. At least the water pressure was decent. He'd gotten good at finding silver linings in shitty situations. He wiped condensation from the mirror. 7 days of stubble had graduated to the early stages of a beard. Dark circles underscored eyes that had seen too little sleep. "You look like shit, Volt," he told his reflection. The reflection didn't argue. He dressed quickly in the bathroom's lingering warmth: jeans, thermal shirt, flannel, and the beat-up leather jacket he'd found at a thrift store 3 days ago. Unmemorable. Nothing that would draw a second glance. Back in the bedroom, his makeshift command center awaited final dismantling. The walls were bare again, the printouts of his mother's letter and tattoo patterns carefully folded into a waterproof pouch. 7 days of research. 7 days of questions. 7 days of absolutely no progress in controlling whatever the hell was happening to him. Tyson glanced at his phone, checking the street surveillance app he'd rigged from several discount wireless cameras. The black SUV had made another pass 20 minutes ago, the third since dawn. They were tightening the perimeter, growing bolder. Time to move. He swallowed 2 aspirin dry. Sleep deprivation mixed with existential crisis made for a nasty cocktail. Add in the constant vigilance against unknown hunters, and you had a migraine that Excedrin couldn't touch. What would a normal person do right now? Call the police? Join a teleportation support group? A bitter laugh escaped him as he packed the last of his research materials. There was no manual titled, "So you've discovered you're a supernatural teleporter. Now what?" His phone buzzed. The street camera showed the black SUV making another pass, this time slowing as it approached the motel office. Time's up. Tyson slung his go bag over his shoulder and did a final sweep. Nothing left behind. No trace beyond what housekeeping would expect. He checked the hallway through the peephole, empty, then slipped out and moved toward the emergency stairwell at the end of the hall. He pushed it open and descended quickly, footfalls landing on the outside edges of the concrete steps. At the landing between the second and first floors, he froze. Voices below. The metallic click of a weapon being readied. Heavy footsteps ascending. Not the casual stride of motel staff, but the measured pace of professionals. Shit. He pivoted, taking the stairs back up 2 at a time. His go bag thumped against his back with each bound upward. The stairwell amplified his breathing, each exhale sounding thunderous. Footsteps accelerated below. They'd heard him. 3 more flights and he burst through the roof access door. Cold morning air slapped his face. His lungs burned, the taste of adrenaline metallic on his tongue. The door clanged shut behind him. No time for locks. No time for careful planning. The rooftop sprawled before him, a cluttered maze of ventilation equipment, satellite dishes, and ancient water tanks. He ducked behind an AC unit, still cool from the night, and scanned his surroundings while forcing his breathing to stabilize. 4 buildings made up the block, their rooftops a patchwork of varying heights. The adjacent building to the west stood 2 stories taller, its fire escape out of reach. The building to the east was level but separated by a 15-foot gap that might as well have been the Grand Canyon. South, then. The building there was marginally lower, maybe a 12-foot drop to a flat gravel roof. Doable. The roof access door exploded open. 2 men in black tactical gear emerged, weapons drawn, compact submachine guns, not pistols. Too professional, too quiet. No identifying insignia or badges, just the cold efficiency of people who had done this many times before. "Target located," one murmured into a throat mic. Tyson's skin prickled with a now familiar sensation, a tingling that started at the base of his skull and rippled outward. The edges of his vision shimmered like heat waves over summer asphalt. God damn it! The first man advanced, weapon trained center mass. Stand down, Vaelwalker. Compliance protocols are in effect. The word hit him like a physical blow. Vaelwalker. Not a delusion, not a psychotic break. These people knew exactly what he was. Who are you? Tyson asked, voice steadier than he felt, buying seconds while he calculated the distance to the roof edge. Stellanox Containment Division. You're experiencing a dangerous emergence event. We're here to help stabilize your condition. Help. Sure, the kind that left his parents dead and him orphaned. The kind that involved black SUVs and unmarked tactical teams. I'm good, thanks, Tyson replied, backing slowly toward the southern edge. Don't need stabilizing. The second man was circling to flank him, boots crunching on loose gravel. Both moved with practiced coordination. They were calm, methodical, treating him like a dangerous but predictable animal. Everyone says that, the first man said, almost sympathetic. Tyson's back foot hit the roof's edge. The tingling intensified, crawling across his skin like electric ants. Not painful, but impossible to ignore. Whatever you're about to try, the second man called, don't. Uncontrolled shifting during emergence is how accidents happen. Shift. Another word for his file of gradually accumulating terminology. His mother's letter had called it folding reality. The men hunting him called it shift. Two phrases for the same impossible thing. The first man reached slowly to his belt and withdrew something that looked like an EpiPen. Standard stabilizer. Won't hurt. Will keep you from hurting yourself or others. Tyson glanced behind him. 12 feet down to the adjacent roof. Survivable, if barely. The alternative was surrendering to the people his mother had explicitly warned him against. The tingling sensation crested suddenly, and the world around him flickered like a television with poor reception. The men blurred, their outlines smearing against the gray sky. Not now. Not now. He fought it, trying to stay anchored in the present. The men sensed the change immediately, their postures shifting from cautious to urgent. He's shifting, the first shouted. Deploy anchor now. The second man raised something that resembled a high-tech flashlight. Before he could activate it, Tyson made his choice. He pitched backward off the roof. For 3 terrifying seconds, he fell. Wind rushed past his ears. His stomach lurched. The gravel roof below expanded in his vision with sickening speed. He tucked his chin, bent his knees, preparing for impact that would shatter ankles and knees if he landed wrong. Then reality shifted. One moment he was falling, the next he was somewhere else entirely. No transition, no warning, just an instantaneous change. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, harsh institutional glare replacing open sky. The antiseptic smell of cleaning products filled his nose. His body, braced for impact, instead stood perfectly still on polished linoleum. His ears captured only the faint humming of air conditioning and distant elevator music. Tyson staggered. 1 second falling through open air, the next standing in a climate-controlled hallway. The mental whiplash was intense. He was in a hallway. Beige walls. Motivational posters. Office doors with nameplates. The fuck? Recognition dawned. He was standing outside his boss's office at Meridian Logistics, 34 floors up in a Manhattan skyscraper, miles from the Queen's Motel rooftop. He had teleported across the city. Physically, he felt completely normal, just his mind struggling to catch up with the instantaneous change of scenery. Down the hall, a door opened. Lisa from analytics emerged, carrying a stack of folders and humming tunelessly. She stopped when she saw him, head tilting. Tyson? What are you doing here so early? And what's with the... She gestured vaguely at his appearance. Tyson remembered too late that he looked nothing like the polished logistics analyst who normally occupied this space. Unshaven, disheveled, dressed in thrift store casual, carrying a tactical go bag and probably looking like he'd seen a ghost. A bike accident, he improvised. Had to grab something I left Friday. Didn't expect anyone else to be in yet. Lisa's brow furrowed. You don't bike to work. Are you okay? Lisa stepped closer. You look really pale, Sal. Should you even be out of bed? For a surreal moment, Tyson considered telling her the truth. Actually, Lisa, I just discovered I can teleport. Was having a light rooftop standoff with some tactical goons. Thought you might have the employee handbook section on supernatural workplace accommodations handy. I'm fine, he managed instead, forcing a smile. Just pushed myself too soon. Probably heading back home now. Lisa didn't look convinced, but the elevator dinged at the end of the hallway. Well, see you tomorrow. He needed to get out before anyone else appeared. Before the men hunting him realized where he'd gone, Tyson moved toward the emergency stairs. As he passed his own desk, He paused. His workspace was immaculate as always. Logistics reports, supply chain analyses, a coffee mug with the company logo, a potted succulent Lisa had given him last Christmas that somehow still lived despite his sporadic attention. The desk looked like an artifact from someone else's life. He passed the large windows overlooking the city. In the distance, barely visible across the urban sprawl, he could make out the Queens neighborhood he'd just left, escaped, teleported from. He had moved instantaneously across miles of urban landscape. No vehicle, no logical explanation. Just pure, impossible shift from one point to another. And he had done it without having the faintest idea how. The stairwell was empty, its concrete echo chamber amplifying his footsteps. Tyson descended methodically, mind racing faster than his feet. He needed a new hideout. Needed to understand what triggered these episodes. Needed to figure out who was hunting him and why. Most of all, he needed to get to the compound in Florida, the only place he knew would be secure. 20 minutes later, Tyson entered a storage facility in Lower Manhattan. His unit, rented under a false name with cash when he first moved to the city, contained emergency supplies for when everything goes sideways. Sideways doesn't begin to cover it, he thought as he unlocked the roll-up door. Inside, plastic bins were stacked with precision. He quickly located what he needed: clothing, additional funds, a prepaid phone, and a tactical knife. The weight of the weapon in his hand felt both foreign and familiar. Years of weekly training built muscle memory he hoped he wouldn't need to use. He changed into fresh clothes, transferring essentials to a new backpack that wouldn't be recognized. The old go bag and its contents went into a bin marked for destruction. As he worked, the tingling sensation returned, weaker this time, but unmistakable. Tyson froze, waiting for the world to shift, but nothing happened. Just the persistent prickling along his skin, like static electricity seeking ground. What triggers it? Fear? Stress? Specific locations? His mother's letter had called him a Vaelwalker, the last of an ancient lineage. The men on the roof had used the same term. Their attempt to stabilize him suggested his abilities were uncontrolled, dangerous. Were there others like him? Others who could control this power rather than being controlled by it? He touched the pendant hanging around his neck, a simple necklace his mother had left him. The only tangible connection to his past he still had. The clasp had gotten stuck somehow during all this chaos, but that was the least of his problems. Tyson completed his preparations and locked the storage unit. His next step was clear. Get out of New York, head south to Florida. The compound would be safe. As he walked toward the subway entrance, he realized he was smiling despite everything. A tight, grim expression that contained more teeth than humor. 3 weeks ago, I was worried about quarterly projections and whether to get Thai or Italian for dinner. Now I'm a hunted teleporter heading for Florida. The absurdity of it would be hilarious if it wasn't terrifying. Underground. He purchased a Metro card with cash and boarded a train heading uptown. The subway car smelled of wet wool and humanity, packed with morning commuters staring at phones or into the middle distance with that uniquely New York combination of alertness and determined disinterest. Tyson found a spot between a construction worker who smelled of cigarettes and a woman in scrubs coming off an overnight hospital shift. He positioned himself to see all entry points. The train lurched forward, steel wheels screaming against steel tracks. For a moment, Tyson felt a strange sense of clarity. He existed in two worlds simultaneously, the mundane reality of a morning commute and the bizarre reality of being a hunted man with supernatural abilities. The woman beside him dozed off, head nodding toward his shoulder before she jerked awake with a mumbled apology. The construction worker flipped through a tabloid newspaper, its headline announcing a celebrity divorce with more excitement than the end of days. Normal life continued all around him, oblivious to the impossibilities that had shattered his own. God, I sound like I'm writing bad poetry now. Get it together, Volt. His thoughts were interrupted when the train slowed for the next station. As the doors opened, Tyson's attention snapped to 3 men entering the car. Nothing overtly suspicious. Casual clothes, unremarkable features. But something in their coordinated movements sent warning signals crawling up his spine. They positioned themselves strategically, one by each exit, one in the middle. Casual poses that allowed quick response. Eyes that moved too systematically across the passengers. Hunters. Not the same ones from the motel, but cut from the same cloth. Not here. not on a crowded subway car with nowhere to run. The man in the middle made eye contact with him. A flash of recognition, followed by a subtle hand signal to his companions. They began to converge, moving casually through the packed car while tightening the net. Tyson's options evaporated with each passing second. The next station was still 2 minutes away. 3 trained operatives against him. Civilians all around. He shifted his weight. The nearest hunter was 5 passengers away, forcing a path through the morning crowd. The construction worker beside Tyson glanced up, sensing the sudden tension. "You okay, buddy?" No time to answer. The lead hunter reached inside his jacket. Metal glinted briefly. Not a gun in this crowded space, but something equally dangerous. Tyson moved. He surged forward, shoving through 2 startled commuters and closing the distance before the man could fully extract his weapon. Tyson snatched a hanging strap from the subway ceiling and used it to swing his body forward, both feet connecting solidly with the hunter's chest. The impact drove the air from the man's lungs and sent him crashing back into a cluster of passengers. Chaos erupted. People screamed, scrambling away from the sudden violence. The second hunter abandoned subtlety, drawing what looked like a stun baton. He lunged forward, the weapon crackling with blue electricity. Tyson ducked beneath the swing, the baton missing his head by inches. He drove an elbow into the man's ribs, following with a palm strike to the throat. The hunter dropped, gasping for air that wouldn't come. The first hunter recovered faster than expected, rolling to his feet. He came in low, tackling Tyson around the waist and driving him back against the subway doors. Pain flared along Tyson's spine. His hands moved automatically, one securing a hold on the hunter's collar, while the other delivered 3 rapid blows to the kidney area. The hunter grunted but maintained his grip. Professional, trained to fight through pain. Tyson shifted his weight, using the rocking motion of the subway car to throw them both off balance. As they stumbled, he seized the moment, gripping the hunter's head with both hands, one hand on the chin, one on the back of the skull, twist and pull in opposing directions with explosive force. The crack was audible even over the subway noise. The hunter's body instantly went slack. He collapsed to the floor, eyes still open but vacant, a thin line of saliva traced from the corner of his mouth. The train began slowing as it approached the next station, brakes screeching. The third hunter approached more cautiously now, something like fear mixing with respect in his eyes. He reached for his belt, hand closing around another electrically charged tactical baton. "You've got nowhere to go," the hunter said. The screeching brakes intensified as the station platform came into view. 50 feet. 40. 30. Tyson didn't bother with a response. The remaining passengers huddled at the far end of the car, wide-eyed, phones recording everything. Some distant part of his mind registered that his face would be all over the internet within minutes. That problem would have to wait. 20 feet to the station. 10. The hunter lunged forward, baton extending with a metallic click. Electricity crackled along its length. Tyson feinted left, then dropped into a baseball slide beneath the weapon's arc. His foot connected solidly with the hunter's knee, driving it backward against the joint's natural range of motion. Another distinctive pop, cartilage and ligaments tearing. The hunter howled, leg buckling as he crashed to the floor. The train jerked to a halt. Doors hissed open. Tyson sprang to his feet and bolted onto the platform, shoving through morning commuters before they could register what was happening. Freedom lasted exactly 6 seconds. As he cleared the crowd, Tyson spotted them. 4 more hunters positioned strategically across the platform, black tactical pants beneath casual jackets, comm units in their ears, hands already moving toward concealed weapons. They knew which station. They were waiting. Tyson changed direction, sprinting toward the emergency exit. The first hunter to react raised what looked like a modified pistol, tranquilizer darts, not bullets. The man led his shot expertly. The dart struck Tyson's upper arm with a sharp sting. He yanked it out immediately, but the damage was done. Whatever drug coated the tip was already entering his system. Professionally formulated, fast-acting. He had seconds, not minutes. 2 more hunters closed in from the sides, herding him toward a maintenance corridor. The fourth hung back, hand to his ear, coordinating with others. Tyson's legs felt suddenly heavy. The tingling sensation returned, stronger than ever, spreading from his spine outward in radiating waves. His vision blurred at the edges, reality seeming to ripple like a heat mirage. Son of a bitch. But his body had other ideas. The world flickered around him, the fluorescent station lights strobing in his vision. The hunter's shouts seemed to come from underwater, distorted and distant. The last thing Tyson saw before reality shifted was the look of frustration on the lead hunter's face as his quarry began to disappear before his eyes. Then reality shifted. Humid air replaced the stale subway atmosphere in an instant. Gone were fluorescent lights and metal screeching, replaced by dappled sunlight and the distant call of unfamiliar birds. One moment crammed among 100 commuters, the next standing alone amid ancient cypress trees, rising like forgotten guardians. Disorientation slammed into him first, the vertigo of instantaneous transition from city to wilderness. Then came the second wave, the tranquilizers surging through his bloodstream with clinical precision, already claiming territory in his nervous system. A quick self-assessment revealed no teleportation injuries, just the same body suddenly relocated with pharmaceutical chains rapidly binding it. Thoughts fractured at their edges, limbs responding with diminishing loyalty. 90 seconds, maybe less. That's all he had. Professional-grade sedatives never bluffed. Nearby frogs erupted in alarm as he lurched forward, their synchronized croaks reverberating across the still pool like mocking laughter. Welcome to the swamp, city boy. Should have stayed in Manhattan. A ripple cut through the murky surface 10 feet away, muscle and scale gliding beneath a prehistoric facade. Cold reptilian eyes breached, assessing him with patient hunger. An alligator. Because apparently the universe hadn't completely emptied its bag of jokes. All around him, cypress knees jutted from the muck like skeletal fingers clawing upward. Gray-green moss draped from gnarled branches overhead, swaying in the humid breeze like tattered shrouds. Every breath filled his lungs with primordial air, a cloying miasma of stagnation, decay, and the unmistakable copper-penny tang of the cycle perpetually turning. Fine dry ground, fast, an underwater root snagged his foot. Balance abandoned him entirely this time. He plunged face first into the fetid pool, mouth filling with swamp essence, earthy, organic, with hints of decomposition and mineral-rich silt. Gagging, he fought against gravity with arms rapidly losing their strength. The backpack transformed to concrete against his spine, twice as heavy and dragging him downward. 60 seconds remaining, if lucky. Through vision now smeared at the edges, a small island of salvation appeared. A raised hummock topped with a massive oak perhaps 30 feet distant. He stumbled toward this miniature promised land, each footstep becoming an algebraic equation his brain struggled to solve. His legs moved as though mired in setting cement rather than mere bog water. Commands from brain to muscle arrived garbled and incomplete. The pistol secured in his pack might as well have orbited Saturn for all the good it would do now. Almost. Keep going. The slight incline to dry ground became Everest. Mud sucked greedily at his waterlogged boots, extracting payment for each inch gained. Finally surrendering to gravity's insistence, he dropped to hands and knees, crawling the final distance. Rough oak bark scraped his palm as fingers clutched for purchase. His upper body surrendered next, collapsing him sideways onto relatively dry earth. Rich loam and decaying oak leaves filled his nostrils, almost pleasant compared to the bog's fetid exhalations. Eyelids rebelled against his commands to stay open. Chemical darkness advanced from his peripheral vision like spilled ink bleeding across parchment. Each heartbeat pushed more sedative through his system, painting consciousness black one pulse at a time. Location? The question drifted through fading awareness. Surrounding flora suggested deep south, Georgia, Florida, perhaps Louisiana. By some cosmic joke, maybe his haywire ability had accidentally delivered him near the compound. Congratulations on inventing the world's least reliable GPS Volt. From somewhere deep inside, inappropriate laughter bubbled up, one harsh bark escaping his lips to shatter the cathedral silence. Fuck it, he managed, tongue thick and uncooperative. Done running. A distant splash answered, another scaly critic offering commentary. His world contracted to a keyhole glimpse of light filtering through oak leaves. Inexorable darkness rushed in like tide filling a cave. One final thought surfaced, equal parts defiance and surrender. Time to find out what the hell I really am. Perfect, Tyson muttered, teeth already chattering. Just perfect. Chapter 7. Consciousness clawed back in fragments, coarse burlap scratching his cheek, wood smoke laced with pine's sharp tang, an owl's mournful cry piercing the Florida night. Pain throbbed through Tyson's body, a relentless tide washing over bruised muscles and aching bones. He forced his eyes open. A single lamp glowed low on a weathered wooden table, its light jittering across unfinished pine walls, casting jagged shadows on dark, age-worn crossbeams. The cabin's familiar creak wrapped around him, Ulrich's fortress, carved deep in the wilderness, a sanctuary against unseen threats. He pushed to sit up. Muscles screamed, a raw chorus of protest. Don't! The voice sliced from the shadows beyond the lamp's reach, low, gravel-etched with age and wariness, their sedative still clawing through your system. Ulrich stepped into the flickering glow. Steel gray hair buzzed military clothes, beard wild but functional, scars tracing his left cheek and neck like faded battle lines. His dark brown eyes swept Tyson, cataloging bloodstains and bruises with clinical precision, assessing readiness in a single glance. "How'd you find me?" Tyson croaked, throat raw as desert stone. "You found me." Ulrich poured water from a dented metal pitcher, offering the cup with a rock-steady hand. "Stumbled into my perimeter, half-conscious, tripping a motion sensor." He angled a laptop on the table, its screen alive with a grid of security feeds, camouflaged tree cams watching the dark woods. One frame froze on Tyson, collapsed against a pine's rough bark. Ulrich sat at the rough-hewn table, a leather journal splayed open, its yellowed pages heavy with secrets. "Then hear it all," he said, voice steady but heavy, like a man unburdening a lifetime. Flashback. Combat training, 10 years ago. Rain hammered the Montana clearing, churning hard-packed dirt into a slick, gritty mire. 14-year-old Tyson circled Ulrich, fists raised, boots slipping as he hunted stable ground, the cold sting of water soaking his clothes. "Again!" Ulrich commanded, his voice slashing through the storm's roar, sharp as a blade. Tyson lunged, a drilled combination, jab, cross, hook, each snap honed by endless repetition in basements and backyards. Ulrich parried with liquid ease, swept low, and sent Tyson sprawling face first into the mud, its cold, grainy bite coating his skin. "Telegraphing," Ulrich said, dispassionate as stone. "3 moves out, I see your plan." Tyson shoved up, mud caking his arms, exhaustion torching his muscles. Hours of this while other kids chased movies, video games, normal lives. "This is pointless," he spat, adolescent rage boiling over. "I'll never need this crap." Ulrich's eyes flashed storm dark, dangerous. "Attack! I'm done. Attack!" The order cracked like lightning, splitting the night. Fury propelled Tyson forward, a wild haymaker aimed at Ulrich's jaw, technique abandoned for raw emotion. Ulrich flowed like water. One moment there, the next pinning Tyson face down in the sludge, arm twisted to the edge of agony, stopping just shy of breaking. "Think it's a game?" Ulrich hissed, breath hot in Tyson's ear. "I push because the world won't hesitate to crush you. Worse than this waits out there." He released. Tyson rolled onto his back, rain rinsing filth from his face, revealing confused anger beneath. Mud clung to his cheeks, a second skin. "Why would anyone want me dead? I'm nobody." Ulrich loomed, water sheeting his face, anguish cracking his stoic mask for a heartbeat. "Because of what you'll become." He extended a hand, rain pooling in his palm. "Up again." Tyson gripped it, hauled himself upright. Ulrich's fire silenced further protests. They drilled until muscles screamed, until sequences burned into instinct, rain and sweat blurring into one relentless tide. Flashback, wilderness training, 8 years ago. "Don't move." 16-year-old Tyson froze mid-stride at Ulrich's whispered command. 3 hours stalking a deer through Michigan's dense woods, his calves blazing from the slow, crouched pace, pine needles pricking his skin through damp clothes. Ulrich's grip steered Tyson's hand to a tree trunk. "Feel that." Tyson's fingers traced fresh deer rubs, bark scraped raw, and subtle boot prints pressed into soft earth, fresh within the hour. "Not alone," Tyson murmured, dropping low, silhouette shrinking against the forest green curtain. Ulrich's nod held rare approval. "What else?" Tyson scanned, broken twigs, scuffed moss, a faint trail. 2 deer hunters, moving parallel to us. They veered, ghosts through undergrowth, leaves whispering against their clothes, the air heavy with damp earth and pine. Below a ridge, 2 deer hunters in orange vests camped by a stream, oblivious to eyes watching from above. "How long'd you know they were there?" Tyson asked, breath barely audible. "Since dawn," Ulrich replied. "Sloppy. Loud. You?" "Fixated on the deer trail," Tyson admitted, frustration biting deep. "Fixation blinds," Ulrich said. "Track one thing, see everything." Tyson led the next 8 hours, wide loops around the hunter's position, crossing streams to kill scent, silent steps through bracken and shadow. Dusk found them at their own camp, 5 miles off, Tyson collapsing by the cold fire pit, muscles trembling with exhaustion. Good, Ulrich said, the praise rare as gold, glinting in the fading light. Why disappear like this? Tyson pressed, voice hoarse from effort. Ulrich stared into the darkening woods, eyes lost to memory. Being seen means being targeted. Targeted means hunted. His gaze locked on Tyson's. I've seen what happens to the caught. Urban drills echoed in Tyson's mind, slipping through Chicago's packed streets, vanishing in Boston's tangled alleys, fading among New York's millions, Ulrich forging invisibility in every terrain. Not to hunt, to survive hunters. Ulrich moved to the cabin's small kitchenette, brewing coffee, steam curling like specters from the pot. The bitter scent anchored Tyson as he sat, the mug's heat biting his palms through chipped ceramic. I wasn't always this, all gesturing to himself, the cabin, his exile. Once I had a brother, a family, a purpose beyond hiding in shadows. Darren, his name was Darren. Ulrich's voice cracked open, soft with rare warmth, a fissure in his armor. My younger brother, extraordinary. He sipped coffee, gaze drifting to ghosts only he saw. As kids, he'd appear in impossible places, locked rooms, rooftops, once standing lake center, water solid beneath his feet like he'd rewritten physics. Tyson leaned forward, the cabin's smoky warmth wrapping around him. He was a Vaelwalker, like me. Ulrich nodded. Manifested at 6, unheard of early. Most wait till 24, when neural paths ripen for spatial manipulation. My birthday, Tyson murmured, the connection tightening like a knot. Your mother's gift woke then too, Ulrich said. Same age, same spark. You studied this. I had to understand. Ulrich's face hardened, scars catching the lamplight. To save those who couldn't. The Accord. In the 1980s, Darren caught the Helix Accord's eye, a shadow group fixated on teleporters, Ulrich said, voice tightening with old anger. He slid a worn photograph across the table, a younger Ulrich beside a slender man with intense eyes, Tyson's eyes, mirrored across decades. They lured him at 20 with promises, community, safety, purpose. Bitterness twisted Ulrich's words. What they wanted, control, absolute loyalty, a registry of every ability. Tyson studied the photo, tracing the stranger's features, seeing echoes of himself. They're not Stellanox? Enemies in method, maybe not in endgame. Ulrich's fist tightened, mug trembling slightly. Stellanox covenant. Stellanox runs deeper than history. Zealots turn paramilitary, viewing Vaelwalkers as abominations, tears in reality's fabric. Ulrich laid out another photo. A black sun etched into stone, ringed with arcane, twisting script. They claim to protect humanity. Well-funded, globally connected, relentless. The New York squad, Tyson said, voice low. Black tactical gear, advanced tech. Ulrich's nod was grim, eyes distant. They infiltrated the Accord, corrupted its mission. Darren saw it, tried to warn the others. His knuckles whitened around his mug, voice dropping to a growl. They sent him on an artifact retrieval mission, a trap. He died, Tyson whispered, the weight of it settling. Vanished, Ulrich corrected, pain raw after decades undimmed. No body, no trace. I've hunted answers ever since. Jacob and Elena. After Darren, I went underground, built intel networks, shadow channels. That's how I met your father. Ulrich opened a small leather case, revealing a faded photo. A tall man with Tyson's jawline beside a woman with fierce, intelligent eyes, green like his own. Jacob wasn't a Vaelwalker, a tech prodigy, NSA contractor. He intercepted Stellanox communications, reached out to me through back channels. Tyson held the photo, fingers trembling slightly, throat tight with the faces he barely remembered. Elena manifested young, Ulrich continued, voice catching on her name. Jacob built jammers to mask her teleportation signatures. We formed a resistance, finding Vaelwalkers before Stellanox, helping them vanish. Ulrich's eyes clouded, voice dropping to a rasp. Prague, an extraction. We were tracked. Jacob held them off, bought our escape with his life. Tyson's chest tightened. Mom was pregnant with me. She was. We went deeper underground, always moving, always a step ahead. The promise. When you were 4, they found us. Ulrich's whisper scraped, barely audible. Elena knew they were closing in. She prepared contingencies, the letter, the tattoo design inked into your skin, encoded with coordinates only a Vaelwalker could read. He met Tyson's gaze directly, eyes raw with old grief. She made me swear to raise you as my own, to train you, to prepare you. His breath hitched, a rare fracture. She led them away, drew their fire while I escaped with you. She sacrificed herself, Tyson said, throat constricting, the truth a blade in his chest. She believed you were more important, stronger than other Vaelwalkers, a spark worth everything. Ulrich rose, pacing to the window, his silhouette framed against the dark wilderness, vigilance never resting. I've spent 20 years keeping that promise, training you to survive, to fight, watching for your awakening. He turned, facing Tyson fully, and searching for what Stellanox truly wants with your kind. Tyson stood, joining him at the window. Outside, the Florida wilderness stretched vast and dark, a temporary haven against the storm gathering beyond. "And now?" Tyson asked, voice steady despite the weight. "Your choice," Ulrich said simply. "Run and hide forever, or find the sanctuary your mother encoded in your skin. Discover what she believed was worth dying for." Tyson looked down at his tattoo, the geometric pattern suddenly alive with meaning. His mother's final message, his father's sacrifice, Ulrich's decades of unrelenting vigil. "I need to know who I am," he said finally, voice firm. "What I am, and why they fear it enough to hunt me." Ulrich nodded, a glint of rough pride in his weathered features. "Then we have work to do." Tyson moved to the cracked mirror hanging on the wall, fingers tracing the raised lines of his tattoo, feeling his mother's legacy hum beneath his skin. A map, a key, a promise written in ink. "I didn't choose this," he said to his reflection, voice low but resolute, "but I won't run from it either." Dawn broke over Ulrich's cabin, painting the Florida sky in amber and gold. Tyson stood on the porch, revelation settling into his bones like cold lead. The truth about his parents, Darren, the shadow forces shaping his life. It was a tidal wave, threatening to drown him in a single night. The air carried Pine's sharp bite and the damp chill of morning mist. Ulrich emerged, carrying 2 steaming mugs, the rich coffee scent slicing through the fog. He handed one to Tyson, his weathered face impassive, but his eyes held a new clarity, secrets unburdened at last. "So what now?" Tyson asked, watching steam curl into the dawn. "We follow your mother's map," Ulrich said, voice steady. "Your tattoo's coordinates point to something vital, but first, you need to see this." He stepped inside, returning with a yellowed paper, edges frayed, covered in his precise script. "The National Historical Archive in D.C. Hidden Wing, restricted access. I tracked Vaelwalker traces, legends of vanishing people, anomalies through history. All lead to a collection there." Tyson studied the notes, coordinates, security codes, a rough floor plan. "You never went." "Too risky. I was watched." Ulrich's jaw tightened. "Your father believed evidence there proves what Vaelwalkers are, where they came from, something Stellanox buries." 3 days of cautious travel, train rides, burner phones, constant scans for tails, brought Tyson to the National Museum of American History's granite facade. Its public galleries hid the National Historical Archive, climate-controlled vaults for artifacts too strange or sensitive for display. Afternoon crowds offered cover. Tyson moved as Dr. Marcus Welby, Princeton scholar, Ulrich's flawless ID clipped to his jacket, exuding academic entitlement. The badge scanner beeped green, the guard's glance brief but sharp. He navigated public halls to the staff elevator bank. Level B3 demanded a key card and 6-digit code from Ulrich's notes. The doors opened to a sterile hallway, fluorescence casting clinical white. Signs pointed to colonial records, indigenous artifacts, military acquisitions. Nothing about Vaelwalkers. Ulrich's notes led to pre-Columbian anomalous anthropology, a vague label to deter prying eyes. Tyson found the door in a secondary corridor. Keycard swipe, code entered, heart pounding as the lock clicked softly. The room was dark, lit by preservation systems' glow and climate control's low hum. Motion sensors triggered dim lighting, just enough to navigate. Rows of cabinets, sealed cases draped in cloth, air thick with chemicals and ancient dust. For an hour, Tyson searched methodically, following Ulrich's catalog guide. Many cases were empty, contents gone. Others held pottery, textiles, jewelry, tagged with sterile numbers. Then, behind a restoration-in-progress partition, a plaster wall lay partially excavated. The exposed 6-foot section revealed a mural, its pigments ochre, indigo, oxidized copper green, vivid despite centuries. Human forms twisted, limbs elongated, bodies translucent, figures doubled across space. At the center, Tyson's tattoo pattern gleamed, a perfect match. This was his blood, painted across time. The lines' precision, their mathematical harmony, screamed technical diagram, not art. A guide to teleportation encoded as myth. He photographed it, flash off, capturing every angle. A voice cut through. Fascinating, isn't it? The mind can't grasp what it doesn't know. Tyson turned. A guard stood in the doorway, two poised, eyes locked on Tyson's phone, then the mural. His hand hovered near a sleek device, humming faintly. "Restricted area, Dr. Welby," he said, his smile sharp as a blade. Show me your authorization. The name's emphasis screamed Stellanox. Tyson's tattoo pulsed like a heartbeat. Adrenaline surging, power stirring. Got turned around, he said, edging toward Ulrich's marked exit, looking for colonial maritime records. The man's smile stayed cold. Most lost researchers don't photograph restoration projects. He stepped forward, hand on the device. Let's discuss this with security. Your clearance seems overextended. The pulsing intensified, a current under Tyson's skin. Not now, he thought, fighting it. The guard noticed, hand snapping to the device. Don't tear the veil further, Vaelwalker. Tyson lunged for the exit. The guard moved inhumanly fast, blocking him. His power erupted, a violent displacement, space rippling. Vision cleared in a crowded gallery, tourists gasping at a presidency display. Tyson steadied against a case, phone still in pocket, mural photos intact. He merged with the tour group, exiting to the National Mall, dizziness fading as he blended into the crowd. The mural was a teleportation nexus, proof of ancient Vaelwalker knowledge. Stellanox was guarding it, and now they'd seen him.
Thanks for listening. If you like what you heard, step into the story. Like, share, and subscribe to Story Pulse Studios, where imagination comes to life.